What up to my thugs, nerds, freaks, and geeks? You're now rocking with the best of Don, Tony, Teflon, and we have finally made it. The moment that Better Call Saul fans have been thinking about for over 7 years. Now, finally, our story with our boy, Jimmy McGill, who turned to Saul Goodman, who turned to Gene Takovich. Finally, we see this come to an end. But was it the ending that you wanted? Did you feel fulfilled when you seen this ending? And I know it's very emotional right now, but I want you to put your emotions aside. And I want you to ask yourself the question, did this ending fit the show that we were all given all these years? I'm going to give you my opinion right after I break down this whole episode, and I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. The Better Call Saul finale starts off with another back in the day shot, all the way back to season 5 when Jimmy and Mike were trying to wander their way out of the desert. Now, while on the water break, Jimmy does suggest that Mike take the money and run, both of them, the $7 million, but Mike is not down with that, which leads to the first time machine conversation that we hear in this episode. And if Mike was able to go back and change the situation, he said that he would go back to March 17th, 1984, the day that he took his first bribe. Jimmy, whole different situation. May 10th, 1965, the day Warren Buffett took over Berkshire Hathaway. He would invest the remaining $1 million because hypothetically the time machine cost $6 million, and then he would be what would be considered a billionaire, maybe even a trillionaire. But then Mike says to him, "Is that it? Is it all about money to you, basically?" And Jimmy's like, "What else is there in this world?" And when you look at this episode, this concept of a time machine is exactly what this whole episode is about. But let's continue. Now, in present time, after Marion dropped the dime on Jimmy and gives his whole description, gives the make of his car and his license plate, we see Gene escape from Marion's house, and he does reach his own house. When he does, he retrieves a disposable cell phone, but he's caught off guard when he sees that the police are already at his front door, and this makes him have to flee out the back. Now, Jimmy at this particular time doesn't have a lot of things going for him. He has his shoebox, he has his flip phone, but as we can see, these cops are on him. They have the helicopters after him. It's an all-out manhunt for this dude, as I thought it would be because of the level of crime that he committed. Eventually, he winds up jumping inside of a dumpster, and even then, we hear him reciting the numbers that he has to say so he can escape with the vacuum cleaner guy, but he tries to open up his cell phone, and goddamn it if I do not hate these goddamn plastic boxes, these cell phones and these toys coming myself, because when he does try to get it, all of a sudden he knocks open all of his diamonds, they fall in the garbage. He's searching for them, and then knock knock, is anybody in there? Put your hands up. The cops come and bag him up. And I knew he would go to jail. I told you that before, but I did not think that he would go to jail this early in the episode. Now, our boy Jimbo, while he's in prison, he can't help but overhear all the officers listening to his old Better Call Saul videos. And then we see him get his one phone call, and who does he call? He calls Cinnabon. This is exactly something that Gus would do, right? When Gus was in a situation and we seen him get shot by Lalo, we seen him do the same exact thing to make sure everything was good with his business. And he does this same exact thing, and he tells the manager basically, listen, you're gonna have to, an employee, you're gonna have to get a new manager. Now, in his cell, Jimmy realized at this particular time that he made a mistake, that he just got sloppy, that he was messing with the wrong people, and that is why he puts himself in this situation. But not trying to give up on himself, he calls up one of his old associates, Bill Oakley, and tries to get him to represent him in this whole situation that he's dealing with. And Bill is not down with it in the beginning, but Jimmy, being the smooth talker that he is, convinces him to take him on as a client and just help rep with him. Be my advisory counsel so I can get through this. And this is when you know Jimmy has a plan, and we're gonna get right into this after we pay the bills. 100% rep Atlas VPN because it helps you get your 100% full potential out of your subscription services. Take Disney Plus, for example, an outstanding streaming service. I love watching all my Marvel and Disney cartoons that I grew up with, but if you're looking for adult content, you might not find it there unless you live outside of the United States, and that's where Disney offers a secondary hub called Star. And this hub is loaded with adult content, whether it be dramas or sitcoms. And this is where Atlas VPN comes in, because they literally have thousands of different servers all over the world. And this allows you to register your IP address in any one of these countries, allowing you to watch Star from the United States of America on Disney Plus. And it's not just Disney Plus, it's a bunch of other streaming services, and all these services offer different content in different countries, and now you have access to all of it. You'll have so much new content to watch, you'll be able to drop one of your services and this service will pay for itself. And if you use my code that was provided for me by Atlas, and it will be linked in the description and pinned in the comment section, you will be able to get this service for $1.83 a month, plus 3 months for free. And if you're not sure about it, don't worry about it, because you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now you can stream privately, watch all content online without worrying about tracking or censorship, and Atlas VPN protects all your devices with one single subscription. What are you waiting for? Do it. Now you know Jimmy has a plan, because Bill says to him straight up, "Where do you see this ending?" And without skipping a beat, he just spills right out, "With me on top, like always." So Bill then does represent him, and he makes his way to Omaha, and we see them sitting in there, and we talked about what type of charges this dude was going to face. In the end, it added up to 190 years in prison. 190 years in prison. But the thing about this scene is that we get Marie, right? While they're negotiating, Jimmy eventually asked them to bring in Marie, and she says, "They tell me they found you in a garbage dumpster." That makes sense, she says, and then she goes on ranting against him, saying how it was him and her brother-in-law, but she specifically does not say Walter White by name, like she refuses to say this dude's name. And for years, it's all their fault, and that led to the death of her husband and his partner, Steve Gomez. But then we see Slippin' Jimmy in action, and he goes on with this whole long sob story of how he's also a victim from this whole situation. He talks about getting kidnapped by Walter White, talks about being out there and the grave being right in front of him, talks about how he was scared to death. He also says that Walter White orchestrated the death of 8 prison inmates, as well as a lawyer, giving him probable cause to say, hey, if he was willing to kill that lawyer, why wouldn't he be able to kill me? I was scared, I'm a victim, and all that. And the DA is like, you think the jury's gonna buy that? And Saul says, 1. All I need is 1. Now, after Marie walks out and she's telling the guy, do not negotiate with him, we still sit at the table and we see it go down from 30 years. Now, it was all the way up there, it went to 30, all the way down to 7. And then this dude, I mean, come on, man. He's in full Saul mode when he says straight up, I want to go to this prison in North Carolina. Not only did he want to go to that prison, he told them the exact wing that he wanted to go to, and because it had a golf program, the prison, and they agreed to it. Not only that, they agreed to give this man ice cream while he was up in there, and a specific type of ice cream. And the reason why he was able to do that is because the DA, who had a perfect conviction rate, was afraid to put it on the line. afraid to put his perfect conviction rate on the line, because if one juror would have agreed or just felt sorry for him, he could have got off. So all this negotiation works, and he proves that, he's a good lawyer. Now, after all of that negotiation, the turning point of the episode happens right then, because he says he wants one more thing, and he wants to use his knowledge of Howard's death to negotiate an even better deal. I mean, how better can you get than you already have? But he thinks he can, and this is when the feds drop the bomb on him, tell him that Kim Wexler walked into Albuquerque's DA office the other day and spilled her guts over an affidavit. And this was the time we seen Jimmy doing this thing as Saul, but we seen him slip back to Jimmy at this particular time, and he had nothing to say when he heard that. Now, after that, we go back to the past, where we see Walter and Jimmy are stuck underneath Ed's basement, preparing to depart for their next lives. A lot of people thought that was going to be the scene, and if you did, bravo to you. You definitely predicted that one. And then we see the second reference to the time machine, when Jimmy asked Walter what he would do if he had a time machine. Which I will say right now, it was great to see Walter White in 100% Walter White form, arguing with him, saying that's scientifically impossible. If you just want to talk about regrets, let's just talk about regrets. But Walter's one regret that he says he would change is stepping away from Gretchen and Elliot's highly successful gray matter technologies, which he co-founded with them back in college. When Jimmy says he should have told him about it and he could have filed a lawsuit with him, that's when we hear Walter say, "You're the last lawyer I would have gone to." When Walter asks him about his own regrets, Jimmy's answer is no longer about money. He says he regrets a slip and fall scam that he did when he was younger. And Walter then says, "So you always been like that?" Saying that this is how he's been from the beginning of time. This sleazy ass person is who he's always been. After that, we come to Jimmy on the plane ride with the federal marshal, and this is when Jimmy intercepts Oakley on his way to the bathroom, and he asks him about Kim. Oakley tells him that given the lack of physical evidence or witnesses, she is likely to get off scot-free, at least legally, but civilly, she may be liable, and she may be sued for everything she has, everything she's going to have, and everything she's going to have when she passes away. She's going to sue her for everything. Kim ain't going to get no way out on this. And this gets Jimmy to say that he has some more information that involves Kim that the feds don't know about yet. Information, he says, that will make their toes curl. So you can see that he's prepared to do some type of negotiation. Now, then we switch to Florida, and Kim is doing her normal, lifestyle that, is very boring, talking about her friends going to Red Lobster and everything else. And this is when we see her go from that she has to do something more with her life. She's not feeling that she's making a difference doing this. So she winds up going to a volunteer at Central Florida Legal Aid, a pro bono law firm for underprivileged clients. And while there, Kim receives a call from Suzanne, the Albuquerque DA, who tells her completely off the record that Jimmy was arrested and he was going to implicate her in some new testimony. And then this is when Kim, as we see her, starts to hyperventilate. So then we go to the courtroom in Albuquerque, and we see Jimmy lock eyes with Kim, who is tapping her foot very nervously, and she just doesn't know what this dude is going to say, but we hear him whisper, "It's showtime." The judge declares that the case of the United States versus Saul Goodman is a go, because that's the name Jimmy preferred to go by. Now, upon requesting some time to speak, the judge then grants Jimmy this time to speak, and this is when we see him give the exact same speech that he gave to Marie. However, he declares that he was the key element, switches it up, in Walter White's drug empire. The judge then stops him and was like, "Listen, son, what you're saying, you understand, is going to get you convicted. It's reneging on your deal. But Jimmy doesn't care. He keeps going. He says that he gave false testimony regarding Kim's involvement in Howard's death simply to convince her to come to the courtroom. He then goes on to express the importance of Walter White's meth empire and that he was behind it and that there's no way Walter White would have ever been able to do it without him. And basically, like, he was the man behind the curtain. He was the man pulling the strings. Walter White would have wound up dead or in jail if it wasn't for him, and everything that was going on is because of him. And at the end, when they say his name is Saul Goodman, he corrects the court and says his name is not Saul Goodman, but his name is Jimmy McGill. After that, we get another flashback, and this one does involve Chuck, which is something that people said that they were going to show Chuck. I think that it was very important for them to do this to wrap up this whole show. I mean, you really had to have his brother in it. Now, due to his largely perceived notion that he is electromagnetic hypersensitivity, Jimmy is out there running a bunch of errands for him and chores, and then he's like, why are you doing this to me? He's like, because, you know, I'm your brother. I know you would do it for me. And you can see in Chuck's face, like, nah, I wouldn't do this shit for you. I wouldn't be doing this for you, not at all. But then he says, hey, can we talk about your clients? And then Jimmy says, I'm gonna take the pass on the heart-to-heart Chuck. When Chuck tells him that there's no shame in changing his path, Jimmy responds by telling him the same thing. We always have the same conversation, don't we? Chuck says that right before he picks up a copy of The Time Machine, which wraps up the whole Time Machine conversations and why Jimmy keeps having these conversations with people. Back to present time, we see Jimmy on the bus being transported to prison, not the cushy prison that he had, but the fucked up prison that he basically put himself in. He could have had a cushy life if he really wanted it, but that's not what this was all about. That's not what they were trying to say with the time machine. It was about him not being Saul, about him actually turning back into Jimmy McGill and taking responsibility for all of his actions, taking responsibility for the death of his brother and all the bad things, taking responsibility of putting Kim in the position that he put her in, and he wanted to make amends for all that, and he did. We see him getting transported on that bus, as I said, and while he's getting transported, inmate recognizes him, and then basically these dudes like, yo, Better Call Saul, going to this whole chant and everything else, and then we see him in the prison, and while he's in the prison, what's he doing? He's making dough, right? So he would have been making dough as a free man as Gene, but he didn't want to make that dough that way, right? He wanted to make dough the easy way, the way he always made it, criminal enterprise way. But in the end, he winds up making dough. Cops tell him that his lawyer is there, and I think we all knew who this lawyer was going to be, and I think we all were right that it is Kim at this particular time. And they go into the cell, and it goes back to the reminiscing of the day when you first seen her and Jimmy really interact with her outside, and they're in the car garage, and he gets her a cigarette and he takes it from her mouth, the cigarette, and starts smoking it. Same thing happens here. She gives him a cigarette and she tells him, like, damn man, you had these people down to 7 years. He's like, yeah. Now he's got 86 years to go, you know, but with good behavior, who knows? You know what I mean? But after that, we see Kim walk out, and when she does, Jimmy sees her. He gives her the gun salute, and she does not do the gun salute back, and that is where it ends. Now, was this a fitting ending for this show? Is it the ending you wanted to see? I understand what they were trying to do and what they did do with it, saying that he has always been this Saul Goodman character. Even before he was Saul, he was Saul. And his whole life was just revolved around making money and using that money to make him feel important, to make him feel like he was somebody, right? And taking advantage of people in order to make this money if he really had to. That's what his life was truly about. And this is a time machine situation for him. He had the easy way out. He was going to be on top once again, but he didn't do it. He changed the future, right? He went in the time machine, switched that all around. He took the years. He's going to pay for his crime. He got Kim out of trouble. He's taking responsibility for all the actions that he did. And I like the way they ended it. I understand the reason why they ended it like that. And, you know, it's really sad for me to see this show end. And I could see people saying that they didn't like the ending and why they wouldn't like it, because it wasn't, you know, this big Breaking Bad ending and these major deaths and everything. But that's not what this show was about. It was never about situations like that. This show is strictly about Jimmy McGill finding himself, right? Jimmy McGill accepting himself, accepting all the bad things that he did, and owning up to all that stuff. And after that, taking responsibility. You know, the time machine, going back in time. That's what he did. He had the way out. He could have just did the 7 years and been out, but instead he changed time and he made things right. He's never going to get out of jail. He's going to die there. It's impossible for him. It's just way too many years. I know they tried to say he's in his mid-40s. That's some bullshit. But he is in there. And I thought it was a very good ending. But what I want to know is what you felt in the comment section. You tell me what you felt. And I'll be back with another video later on this week to talk some more about this and delve deeper inside this. But this is my quick review, recap video, and me just giving you my initial thoughts on it. I thought it was a really good ending. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the realm, and as always, subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.